they don't think as product owners. They don't think as product managers. They think as engineers, and that's okay because most of them are really engineers. But being a talented engineer is not enough to create a really successful product. And even more so, it's not enough to start a successful business.
Welcome to the Never Employed Chat. My name is Sam, and I interview people who make a living beyond salary jobs, entrepreneurs, business owners, and investors, so that we can learn from their stories together. There are many great ways to make a living, and even more ways to wealth. At Never Employed, we encourage you to think of alternatives to employment jobs. What would you do if a salary job was simply no option?
I have a number of my friends, all right, who never had these thoughts to start their own business or just quit their office jobs. It's just something that's not for them. They don't feel an urge. They don't feel a need. They might be unhappy with their current employer, but when they think about their options, where to go from there, they just look for a new employer. They don't think of starting their own business. Mm-hmm. So I don't believe they even ask themselves this question, is entrepreneurship for me or not? Because they kind of have an answer to it. They feel very comfortable with being a hired force, and there is nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. There are some people who just are like basically unemployable. They just don't fit into the teams. They don't want to follow the rules, maybe. They don't want to align into some kind of limits that obviously being a hired force would imply. But on the other hand, they might start some kind of career, but they feel hugely disappointed about it. They don't like spending hours in the office, or even maybe if they have an opportunity to work remotely, they just don't like this experience. They don't like to be not the main decision maker. They don't like that someone else is taking the responsibility from them, and they don't like the fact that they kind of limited in a certain role. Like, for example, if they do, I don't know, marketing, but they also want to do sales. They will also want to try themselves into something different. I don't know, customer support. But if you are a hired employee, you kind of less anyway limited to a certain role that you've been hired to. And there are people like me who feel comfortable switching between the roles, between being an employee and working for myself, because it kind of provides me totally different level of experience, totally different learnings. And on every stage of my life, I learn different things. Like, for example, if I work for myself as a consultant, as a mentor, as an advisor, I would take more risky steps, right? I would not be limited to, again, some kind of rules that a company would impose on me. I would maybe become more creative with my strategies. I would use whichever channels I want without, consulting with anyone and trying to prove my point to someone whom I report into. On the other hand, being a part of the team provides a totally different range of resources and ways that I can use marketing channels. I have access to bigger budgets, obviously, than the ones that I would use being on my own. And again, having more people to cooperate with. I also, first of all, get their insights on the market, right? For example, if I work closely at the marketer, I work closely with the sales team. They would provide their insights on the customer choosing journey, on how they see, who they think the customers are. And if I was on my own, I would have the necessity to collect all this information, all these insights on my own. So I kind of leverage on the cumulative knowledge of the whole team. So that's totally different kind of experience, totally different types of acquiring knowledge, and I feel comfortable with both roles.
So then, what's your personal phase at the moment? So what are you doing? In which kind of businesses or employments are you currently?
Like starting from this week, I've been hired as a head of marketing for a startup that it's called Aemondo, that we do dynamic pricing and smarter, better pricing for retail, e-commerce, and basically brand manufacturers. It helps. As someone who has an experience of working in retail and e-commerce for some time, I instantly, when I saw the product, when I saw the way it's structured and shaped, and I instantly understood the value of it to the end user, because I had this experience of working in the marketing department in the e-commerce company, and we did a lot of the operations that the startup I'm working for now is doing automatically. We used to monitor prices on the competitive products. We used to monitor prices across the category, and because we used multiple channels to sell the product, not just Amazon, for example, like marketplaces, but also we used our own website to reach out to customers. We had an experience of using like Instagram sales, trying to generate some kind of to acquire customers with Facebook as well. We tried to use to do some social sales. Anyway, we used multiple channels, and across all of them, we had to be sure that our price, first of all, is competitive compared to our like direct competition, like companies who sold the same brands, but also companies who sold like alternatives to the brand that we were sourcing. So it's kind of, we had to monitor the whole category. And based on our insights, we had to, for example, if we could not provide the competitive pricing, like we knew that we can't keep prices as low as our competition for various reasons. For example, like, I don't know, our stock was low, or our like expenses were higher, for example, right? We did not manage to build logistics operations so efficiently as our competition. So for various reasons, we, for example, could not keep our prices low. We had to go heavily on the marketing and positioning side, explaining our potential customers, our prospects, that they are paying some extra, some premium for better quality, or for better brand, or for better product experience, or whatever. We try to explain why we want to charge them more. And in some cases, this was totally reasonable because the experience was really better. But sometimes it was honestly just a marketing trick, because the experience could be totally the same, but we just couldn't price our product on the same level as the competition. And it was very overwhelming to do like all this job manually, trying to track the prices. And obviously, we could not do it, on daily basis. If you have, it could be less overwhelming, for example, for a software company when you have a limited range of products. But if you're working in retail and you have over 1,000 of different items you are selling, obviously you can track the prices manually on the daily basis. So we had to hire special people who would do it at least on the weekly basis. We had to make sure that all these alerts that they're sending, like, hello, this product is priced higher than the competition one, they were not like lost in vain, that like marketing team actually did something with that, either like put the price down because we could afford it, or just try to build some kind of marketing communication around it. So a lot of things had to be done around this. And when I saw the team and the product that can do everything of what I used to do manually, and I spent like hundreds and hundreds of dollars and man hours to do manually, that they can do it all automatically. You just like press the button, you create your pricing strategy, and it will change your prices dynamically based on like what your expectation. If you want to optimize for revenue, you want to optimize for more customers, you want to optimize for more for better margin. Then it just blew up my mind. I said I want to join this team, and that's where I am. I'm just on my second work day, but it's very exciting anyway.
Okay. And then how did you get there originally? I mean, you obviously already have some previous experience. So what did you do before?
So as I told you, I used to work in retail and e-commerce for some time, but after that, I switched to mentoring and consulting startup founders, and that's how I basically ended up in startup environment. It happened 4 years ago. After I went over like a burnout period, I was so overwhelmed with the amount of tasks I had to cover. And because, again, I also had the most overwhelming part of my previous job was about managing a lot of people. And as an introvert, I just hated doing this part of the job. I wanted to do more, to invest more of my time in marketing activities and positioning the product. But instead, I ended up doing something that I did not enjoy doing, and I honestly didn't know how to do, like managing people and hiring and firing. And so that's not so much fun. And if you kind of pushed into doing something that you don't like to do for a long time, and being a control freak like me, the result was more or less expected. Sooner or later, I had to get tired of it and go through a burnout, and that's exactly what happened. I was in a terrible condition. Like I was totally depressed. I couldn't. I slept for 48 hours. I lost 10% of my body weight. So it was it was unbelievably bad. And that's when I realized that I had to stop. I just quit I put everything on hold, and I moved my family to Cyprus, where we decided to kind of do something different. And I was pretty sure I would never do anything again in my life. Like I just didn't want to do with just to interact with more people again. And but obviously that's not what happened. Maybe 3 months after that, a friend of mine who had he still has it, a venture fund here in Cyprus, and they were running an accelerator program. He reached out to me asking if I would be interested to maybe lecture to the startup founders, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to tell them. I've never dealt with startup founders, and he said, "Okay, talk about what you know. Talk about marketing." So that's exactly what they need to learn, because most of the founders obviously were technical founders, and they had no idea how to build their go-to-market strategy, how to do customer discovery, how to run customer interviews. So all the basics that are so important for building a successful product, or the product that somebody would like to use in the first place. They had no idea about these things. And that's how I ended up talking to the founders, and pretty soon I became embedded in the startup communities. I started consulting, I started mentoring. I was invited as an advisor in several companies, and an early hire to help with marketing. Also, pretty soon I was invited in an international program as an educator, as a startup mentor with the Founder Institute. So that's how it happened. Yes.
And if you say you're embedded in the founder community, and that you teach them marketing, is there or are there some crucial findings which you had about what people struggle with mostly when it comes to marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. There are some things that worth mentioning, like for example, like most founders, especially when we work in around startups in the tech community, we kind of become fascinated with the technology, and we believe that if we build good enough product, if we build like amazing solution based on the most advanced technology, people will just start using it because it's so useful. It's so valuable. It's so like it really solves some of their problems, and it's kind of natural because we work with technology. We see what it's capable of, and in our minds we create this halo effect. You know how it works. Like it works especially with people as well. Like, why do influencers exist? Why do thought leaders exist? We learn. We look at a person who has become pretty successful in a certain field, like for example, take, I don't know, Elon Musk. He's great. He was great in building PayPal. Then he was great in building Tesla. But it doesn't mean that he would be great, like great manager for Twitter. It doesn't guarantee that, because it's a different product. It's a different audience, and in general, like managing and leading social media platform is totally different from leading and managing a car manufacturer. You have to address so many like political points. You have to take into consideration so many opinions and the diversity of opinions. And he kind of got used to being liked or being like this very popular person because he created a popular brand. And now he's not getting so much positive feedback, because some people are not happy with what he's doing, and it's an expected reaction because he's managing social media. It's a place where people exchange their opinions, so obviously some people will be happy and some people will be extremely unhappy. You have to get used to this polarization, but somehow when he was kind of acquiring Twitter, many people believed that he would be a great fit for that because he was so successful with managing all other businesses. And many people would probably listen to what Elon Musk says on politics, I don't know, on religion, on any other subject, or maybe medicine or whatever, right? Because he was great in building Tesla and PayPal, so he might know certain things about life as well. And the same attitude. That's what halo effect is about. We kind of take our opinion of a person, some kind of proved results they had in a certain field, and we transfer it to some other areas that they're not experts in. But still, we trust their opinion in these areas just because they are trustworthy. And this trustworthiness is based on their achievements in some other fields in the past. And the same happens when we think about technology. So we know that it's capable of amazing things, right? It's capable of sending people to Mars. It's capable of getting to the core of the Earth. It's capable of diving like incredible depths. So for sure, it will be capable for marketing itself. Come on. Of course it will, right? It's kind of a reasonable assumption to make. So I think that's the most common mistakes founders make. they fall into this trap, having this halo effect about technology, thinking it will be capable on itself to bring in more customers, more leads, more sales. But that's obviously not what happens, right? You have to make conscious efforts to bring your product in front of the eyes of your audience, to be recognizable, to be not only recognizable, but also differentiated from other alternatives that are available on the market. You have to make conscious efforts to put yourself on top of the consideration set in your customers' minds. Like, for example, the top goal is to become like Figma in design, to become like Figma in any other fields, right? When you talk to a designer or to anyone who is assigned with a task to do some kind of design, and you ask them what tool are you going to use, Figma will be probably one of top three that will come on the top of their mind. So that the end goal is to be like in the consideration set of your core target audience when people have this task, this pain point, when they know they have to do something. Just be among top three. Okay, that's pretty cool. You'll have to spend millions to get there. But if the audience is very narrow, it's doable, it's achievable. If you're solving very narrow, small problem for a very narrow, small audience, that's something that can be done. And that's actually one of the reasons why I was so excited to join this team I'm working with now, the company that helps with dynamic pricing retailers and manufacturers, because they had and they have a very narrow focus. They know very well their audience. They know what kind of pains they're solving and how exactly they're helping these customers to get better, more successful, more profitable, and grow faster with very, very small but very efficient tool that solves their problem. And that's actually the best thing that any founder, technical or not, can do. Just understand who their customers are and what kind of job to be done they have, what kind of tasks these customers have in mind while thinking about the solution to their problem. And unfortunately, that happens not very often. In my own experience as a mentor, I can say that like even founders with marketing and sales background, they not necessarily start thinking about this, because marketing, again, is a very wide discipline. There are people who specialize in, for example, I don't know, cold emailing. Other people specialize in content marketing. I personally have deep background in content. There are people who specialize in search engine optimization, and other marketers can do Google Ads very well. So anyway, there are niches and there are specializations again within marketers as well. And they, again, getting back to the halo effect, if they were great with Google search optimization or creating amazing high performance, low cost ads for Facebook or LinkedIn, it doesn't mean that they will create great product. In my personal opinion, the best founders may be the ones that have, like, from what I've seen, right, among all the cohorts that I ran, the founders that have a background in product management, like who function as product owners or product managers, they really think about these most crucial points, the ones that are very crucial for kickstarting the product, like creating it in the first place. Because if you created a product that at least needed by very small niche, you have many more paths ahead, like many opportunities to go up market or or down market to gain some painful lessons and find different niche, find different customers, tweak the pricing, change the design, but at least the core functionality, that it solves somebody's problem. This somebody can be different people. It could be like let's take an example of, for example, this very popular on Twitter, used to be very active on Twitter, founder Mark Copy, Killian Pullin. They started with reaching out to freelancers. And very quickly, they realized that they were not the best customer for AI-generated copy, because freelancers actually considered AI to be their competitor. They were very scared and they hated everyone who developed this product, because they were like, no, why these guys want to take our jobs? But the problem still existed, right? There was somebody who still needed copy to be created faster and more efficiently. They just had to find this somebody. They had to search for different customers, and eventually they landed on the agencies, marketing agencies, as the most lucrative customers, because that's exactly the customers who had to create lots of content at scale, and it was much less expensive to use AI generators for at least some parts of the copy than to hire army of copywriters and freelancers. So marketing agency were very happy to use this tool, and they jumped on the opportunity to save on freelancers' salaries. But if you did not think of the problem, you did not think of the job to be done, of the task, you just created something to scratch your own itch, or just because you showed this application to your grandma and she said it's so cool, please carry on, I love it. So then there are no paths ahead, basically, right? Pretty soon you run into this kind of void where no one wants to listen to you, no one wants to test it, no one wants to try it, because the problem didn't exist in the first place. So that's the I think the most often mistake that founders fall into or commit. Like, they don't think as product owners, they don't think as product managers, they think as engineers, and that's okay, because most of them are really engineers. But being a talented engineer is not enough to create a really successful product, and even more so, it's not enough to start a successful business.
Yeah, definitely. So you just mentioned that it might be helpful for these engineers to think more like product managers. So what would you say, or how would you describe, how do product managers generally think, or what are some general advantages of the way how they think?
Okay, there are basically like two approaches in product development, and the most recent one that's I hope will gain more popularity is so-called lean product development, when you go from customer requirements, from understanding your customers and their needs and their jobs to be done and their tasks, from understanding their roles and profiles, their background, where they're coming from, and it intersects. I'm not a product owner, I'm not a product manager, but this way of developing products, this approach to developing products resonates a lot with me as a marketing person, because as a marketing person, I also have to go from the customer. Whatever steps I take as a marketer, I always want them to be data-based. All my decisions should be data-based. They shouldn't be based on hunch or like gut feeling or whatever. Though obviously I have some kind of gut feeling, being in the industry for so long, but I should always reason my own like hypothesis. I should always test them by running customer interviews, by talking to customers, creating marketing personas, trying to understand what's similar between people who might be interested in our product. Where do they come from? What kind of things do they like? How do they consume content? What kind of people do they follow on social media? Do they like YouTube or do they like TikTok? What kind of content do they consume on YouTube? For example, what kind of headlines would be more compelling to them, like 10 reasons to do X, or the beginner's guide to do X, or quantitative analysis to do X. So what kind of mindset do they have? Do they want to consume content that is more scientifically framed, right? Like a research or white paper, or do they want something more entertaining, like, I don't know, they like memes, they share it on LinkedIn and Twitter. So it's all customer profile, and it doesn't come from, just buying some kind of third-tier data. You don't get it from marketing agencies, because they, even doing like marketing research, they would not provide you all this data. The only thing you can acquire this data is by talking to real people. You can, if you have customers, you talk to your existing customers. If you don't have them, you create a hypothesis about your ideal customer. I believe my ideal customer should do this and that. They should like look like this. They should be passionate about this. Aside from being, like, for example, for B2B, aside from being like a category manager, or aside from being a chief financial manager, they would also, listen to the rock music. They would also be passionate about YouTube streaming and stuff like that. So you try to create this hypothesis, and you try to validate them. Going online and recruiting people that match this profile on LinkedIn, on Twitter, using panels from research agencies, and you ask them the questions about their daily routine, about their work routine, about their everyday life, how they choose products, what kind of music do they listen, what kind of platforms do they frequent. You try to validate your hypothesis, and if you invalidate it, you create another one and try to recruit more people to build this profile that will help you. First of all, it will be data driven, and secondly, it will help me as a marketer or founders who do marketing to make, again, very data driven decisions about marketing channels and messages they can use. Like, for example, if it's too expensive to go advertise yourself in Retail Week, because it's like the leading industry publication, and if you want to bring your product in front of the eyes of your leads, the prospects, potential customers, maybe it makes sense to go and sponsor some rock music show, right? And go there, and because the customers, they're not one-dimensional. There are all different ways to reach out to these people. And product owners, product managers, they basically do the same. They create hypotheses. Like, we believe that a person that has this certain task X, they have a pain point Y, and they do Z efforts. They take Z efforts to solve this problem. They do Google searches, or they ask their colleagues, or they, I don't know, read when they stumble on the similar case study in an industry magazine, they start Googling up this solution and they start looking for the reviews. So they also create this idea of some kind of person who has this problem and who takes certain steps to solve them. And they have a certain level of awareness about their pain point, about their problem. And they, for example, are ready to pay a certain amount for this solution, because they already paid like 10x or 2x amounts to solve the problem in the past, but they were very unhappy with the solution. So every product owner whose task was creating a product that would be popular, would be used, and would solve an existing problem. And they also have to create this like kind of persona, right? And a hypothesis around this persona. They would be testing during customer interviews. They would ask different questions from the marketer, for example, but they also would be focused on creating this like the map of experience, of real life experience of this person, to understand where exactly in this journey, in this like holistic view, in this map, they would be able in future place their product. So these people, these like ideal customers, they would use this product in the most natural, organic way, that founders would not have to spend tons of money and time of educating customers about the sheer fact that they have this problem. There are many similar things between like product development and marketing, especially these modern approaches to marketing and the product development. And I think that that's mostly why when founders who have this product ownership background, on product development background, they do all the right steps to understand their customers. They do all the right steps to develop their product. And as soon as they get there, they usually already have, their beta users, because they talk to these target audiences, they talk to their prospects, they try to engage them into creating and the shaping the product. They ask for their feedback. They maybe ask them to use certain features and rate them. And if they have these beta users and these beta users are happy, this already creates this feedback loop, and it creates the referral loop as well. So these happy users, they would refer this product to someone else if they really find it useful. And that actually kickstarts the project. They already feel that they already have their first customers just through the right development process, the correct approach to the development process. I actually have free course on this lean product development. It's like sequence of seven emails that contains the questions that can be asked during customer interview, and how to connect them with a future marketing strategy that you might have if your product is successful, how to where to find these beta like users, or where to recruit customers for customer discovery interviews. It's basically the same approach that I use helping founders with their go-to-market strategy.
And what you described sounds like, or to a large extent, sounds like this might be easy, comparatively easy for big companies to do data-driven tests and to see how customers or prospects react on certain changes or so. Do you have tips, especially for small bootstrap founders, for example, who are trying to find their audience or their customers, just try to validate their idea?
Oh, you don't need a budget to run these interviews. Actually, like if founders subscribe to this course that I mentioned, they will find out that there is no budget implied at all. So because most of the recruitment for these interviews, there are platforms that you have to pay for to do the recruitment of the participants for the interview, but mostly, how most of the platforms and tools that we pay usually for, they basically exist to save us some time. we use them to buy some time for ourselves, right? Like with the company that I'm working right now, this startup, as I mentioned, I used to do all this search, all this price comparison monitoring manually, and it cost me a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of manpower. But now I work for a company that created a tool that does all of this automatically. The same is with the founders. If you don't have a budget, if you have a budget, you can automate many of the tasks, or you can hire an advisor or a mentor or someone who would run the interviews for you. But I don't recommend it. I think a founder should do all these things by themselves, because they have to be in constant contact with the customers to understand the vibe and the environment and how the customer's mindset. So I usually, when I used to run customer interviews for the founders, I always invited them at least to be a part, to be present during the meeting. So most of these things can be done manually. Obviously, it will take more time than, for example, if these tasks are automated. And that's exactly why I think it makes sense maybe to start your product as your project, your business as a side project, not to put all the eggs in one basket, and not to expect that you will build something fantastic and super successful in a couple of weeks, and like in 3 months you become a millionaire. So if you have a job, it's a good thing that you can start something on this side during the weekend or after work hours, and just run these interviews. And it's actually great, because most people you would like to talk to, they don't have time to talk to you during the working hours. They also would be happy to jump on a call in the evening, or maybe if they're in a different time zone, it would be a little bit more challenging. But mostly founders try to target people in the local market, right? The customers they can reach out to. It's pretty tough to try. I know founders who are located in South Africa and try to work with the American market, for example. But usually it doesn't produce very good results, because in general, they know nothing about the broad market. And they usually need some help with trying to figure out how customers think, what kind of channels do they use, and what alternatives and competitive alternatives do they have there. Usually founders get better results when they kind of try to serve and cater the local market, or at least the market they know something about. Like, for example, founders who develop tools for Twitter or LinkedIn, they should know the audience who are on Twitter and LinkedIn. And it's not a rocket science. They could do the direct outreach right there. They can recruit the participants right there on the platform. Because social media platforms have become like an location in itself, like a country probably. So yes, most of the things can be done manually. It can be done during after work hours or during the weekend. And if you follow this process without rushing things ahead, you would probably get better results. I think it's totally doable if you're a bootstrap founder, if you don't have immediate financing, if you can raise like hundreds or thousands or even $1 million. That's totally fine. It can be done. But what I usually recommend, because another big mistake that I see happening, many founders commit, they think very big. Like they start their first project and they want to build a marketplace for like hiring hire anyone online, right? Like I want to change the universe. They want to build very complex, very big product, and it's I don't know. I personally don't know any successful case studies, any examples of founders like starting bootstrapping, being a bootstrap founder, being a solo founder, or maybe even small team of 2-3 people, and building something really huge. Like solving an industry problem, like especially marketplaces or social media platforms. I would definitely not recommend to start a marketplace or a social media platform as your first product, because they're very hard to kickstart, and they most often they demand some very big financing in marketing, and like reaching out to influencers and bringing people on board. So the expenses are very big for a bootstrap founder. So I definitely recommend to be very focused and very niched, and think of a very small audience that you can cater. And the second advice that I would provide, it's to be um, to actually love people you're going to serve, respect them, and be inspired by them. Because if it doesn't happen, pretty often you realize that you don't want to work on this anymore, especially if you're moving in a slow pace and you're not getting this positive feedback, right? In terms of revenue, you're not getting paid for what you are doing. So the only thing that will help you carry on with this for months and months ahead is to actually be passionate about the audience you're going to serve.
How may people find you online, and how may they eventually help you? Are there
Sure. Thank you for this question. I can be found pretty easily on Twitter. I'm very active there, Anna Bibikova. And also, I'm trying to be more active on LinkedIn now, as I'm working in a B2B space. So it's a reasonable platform for me to be active on. The same handle, Anna Bibikova, I can be found on LinkedIn and Twitter. That's 2 platforms I'm most active on.
Thank you for taking the time to give these many tips.
Thank you for having me, Sam. Very excited about this opportunity to be on your podcast.
Thank you for taking part in this Never Employed Chat. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interviews with business owners and investors, or simply listen to the audio version in your favorite podcast directory. Make sure to follow me on all your preferred social media platforms, so that you never miss life-changing business tips. You find me on every platform with the account name samhartmann.com. Start a business, become successful, and tell me about it. See you next time.